how a so-called punk rock church tried to turn people into Trump supporters. I have a few videos on my personal experience going through the whole Calvary Chapel system and that rigmarole that wrecked me on a personal level until I managed to get out of it. But I want to turn my attention to the political and social influence. I mentioned the political and social influence in the skateboarding, surfing community in terms of expertise in mental health and all of that. But there's also a political component to it that started to get more and more prominent during the 2016 election and after the 2016 election going through 2021. Um, at first, of course, it's a conservative Christian denomination. They call themselves a punk rock church, but it was a conservative Christian denomination from day one. Conservative viewpoints on things like gay marriage, abortion, stuff like that, but they were kind of more politically neutral. Like you'd hear one of the main leaders of Calvary Chapel saying, well, if you're socialist, that's not really a problem for you being a Christian as well, because a lot of countries are socialist, and it's just a cultural thing in those countries, kind of taking neutral ground. But as 2016 started to approach, and as there started to be certain factions within the Calvary Chapel movement, you start to get people that are getting more and more aggressive toward, if you didn't vote for Trump, your salvation is in question, is something that I heard from somebody who runs a group of radio stations that used to be affiliated with Calvary Chapel and is still loosely affiliated with them, called CSN, which is also the group that helps to syndicate Ryan Reese, who's the leader of the whole skateboarder church movement within Calvary Chapel. And then you started to hear through COVID, you started to hear more of COVID conspiracy type discussions, even on Ryan Reese's show, which is supposed to be this mental health advice show for the skateboarding and punk rock community, but they're getting into um, kind of denying COVID very mildly. Also, occasionally bringing politicians on there and then denouncing Black Lives Matter. When skateboarders were out there protesting in favor of Black Lives Matter, people from the punk community were protesting in favor of Black Lives Matter, they were kind of saying, well, the movement isn't really that good. It's into things that aren't good for Christians. The Black Lives Matter movement isn't something you should follow. Black lives do matter, but the policies and the ideas that they have are bad. Kind of trying to not say that they're against Black Lives Matter, but really saying that they're against Black Lives Matter and against progressive ideas, and very much leaning towards Trump ideology. There are other Calvary Chapel pastors that are very notable supporters of Trump, but it was very subtle, very insidious.